Please subscribe my YouTube channel and press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another updates from my YouTube channel. Hello friends, so today I'm going to talk about Spring JPA entity mappings in this video. Okay, so we have different types of mappings in this JPA entity mappings. Okay, basically like you have unidirectional one-to-one and bidirectional one-to-one, and then like one-to-many and many-to-one. Okay, as well like we have many-to-many. So basically these mappings will have like unidirectional and the bidirectional. So I'm going to cover like all this combinations in this video. Okay, so these are the 7 combinations are available here, so I'm going to cover like all these combinations here. Okay, so first of all, like when you're talking about unidirectional one-to-one mapping, so basically like when you have like the one customer will can purchase one item, right? So if you define like association at the rate of one-to-one on the customer entity, so basically what it will does is basically whatever that association table is there, so that association table is item, right? So this table name is item and the primary key name is id. So with the help of two table name and the primary key name, it will generate the foreign key id like this item underscore id here. Okay, so if you're not satisfied with this foreign key column, okay, so you can customize this foreign key column with the help of at the rate of joining column. Okay, and after that we have like bidirectional one-to-one mapping. So when you're talking about the bidirectional, so we can go in the both sides, either in the customer side and the item side. So when you are talking about the customer will have the item id here. So basically like whenever you define the at the rate of joining column in the customer entity, so that name is item underscore id. Okay, so basically so now talking about the reference side. Okay, so the item table will have the mapped by attribute, and we are saying that item. So the item name so is available inside this customer entity, and so that will have the association, okay, is item id. Okay, so that's how we are telling to the hibernate. So for one-to-one bidirectional mappings, the owning side corresponding to the side that contains the corresponding foreign key basically. So that owning side will have the corresponding foreign key. And so coming to so one-to-one with the joining table basically, which will create like one more table, that is customer underscore item, so which will have like so the both table foreign keys in this table. Okay, so I'm going to explain these 3 examples here. So let me open my IDE. So here I have so customer entity and item entity, and after that I have 2 repositories, custom repository, so which will extend the JPA repository to use the user defined methods here, and I have like item repository as well. So first of all, like let me open this custom repository, so which is having like id to generated value, so it's going to be use the auto generation for this id. Okay, so now inside this I need to use so item here, so because I need to save item as well. So basically I'm going to define one-to-one mapping here. Okay, this one-to-one mapping I'm going to define with the help of cascade. So the cascade type I'm going to take all here, and that's it. So basically whenever you are saving this, so let me generate the getters and setters for this, and it's going to save the item as well whenever you are saying the customer as well. That is the reason we have mentioned this cascade type all here. And so let me open this item. Okay, so which will have so id and name here. Okay, so I'm just saving this data here, so I just implement this command line interface, so which will have the run methods. Inside the run method I'm just created one customer and one item, and I'm setting this item inside this customer and just saving this customer data with the help of this custom repository. Okay, it's pretty straightforward. So I'm going to start this server, so it's going to take like a couple of seconds, guys. 2 tables has been created, one is item and the customer. So if you observe here, so we have customer and the item. Okay, so let me check the data for customer table here and item table as well. Okay, so we have item id in this customer table, and the item, so item table is we have only item related data. Okay, so this is how it will reference this item id in this customer table. Okay, so if you are not satisfied with this foreign key column, so which is generated by Hibernate, so you can just use at the rate of joining column here. So here you can define, so the joining column name. Okay, so basically if you want to be define foreign key item id like this, you can define like this. Okay, so what if like if you want to be use one to many, not one to many, so bidirectional way, so we have to define, so basically, so private, so the customer inside this item table, right? So you can just define like this, and you can define the, okay, association like this, one-to-one association. So here I need to define one more thing. We have to tell to the Hibernate, so mapped by, okay, so item, so this mapped by item is available in the customer, so which will have the joining column relationship foreign key item. Okay, so that's it. So you can save this and you can start this. Okay, so item and the customer. Okay, so it's working fine. So what if like if you want to be defined, so joining table instead of, so this is joining table, so which will have the name, joining table name, and we have joining columns here. So the joining column name, you can define the customer id, and inversion joining column name is item id. Okay, so let me open this item. Yeah, so this is not required basically when you are dealing with this joining table. So let me start this and show you guys. Okay, if you observe here, we have three insert queries: item, customer, and customer underscore item. Okay, so see, this customer don't have any foreign key, and item also don't have any foreign key. Okay, so if you observe here, customer underscore item, the joining table name, so this will have like both foreign key ids, item id and the customer id, so which will have mapping like this. Okay, so that's it guys for one-to-one mapping. So now, so I'm going to discuss about one-to-many mapping. Okay, so let me open this PowerPoint presentation. Okay, so whenever talking about like so one to many with joining table, okay, basically like so we have the customer and multiple items, right? So basically like, so whenever you are defining association at the rate of one to many association in customer entity. Okay, so if you are not defining any joining column inside this customer entity, then automatically Hibernate will create the customer item, and it will provide like two foreign keys, customer id and the item id inside this joining table. Okay, so what if like if you provide like at the rate of joining column inside this customer entity, so while you are defining the association in this customer entity, so this time, so it will take the joining column name and it will create the foreign key inside this item table. Okay, and so this is unidirectional one to many mapping. So if we're talking about like unidirectional many to one mapping, okay, basically, so we will define this many to one mapping inside this item entity. Okay, we will define this association inside item entity like this, like at the rate of many to one entity, we will define the joining column as a customer id, so then it will create the customer id inside this item table. Okay, so this is unidirectional many to one mapping. So what about like bidirectional many to one mapping? So basically, so this mapping we will be defined like this. So we have a customer and multiple items, so basically this many side we will be defined at the rate of joining column, so the joining column name is customer id. So basically we will be customize this foreign key column as like this customer underscore id, so with the help of this joining column. So at many side we are always saying that this is a warning side. Okay, this warning side we will only define the joining column, so the mapped by we will define at reference side. So what does it mean by this mapped by? Basically the mapped by, we are saying that, so we have a customer inside this item entity, so that has a association many to one and which has joining column, so customer id, so we can use that customer id as a foreign key here. Okay, so that is the meaning of this mapped by customer. Okay, so the many side of many to one bidirectional relationship must not define the mapped by element. Okay, so always we will be define mapped by element inside this customer entity. Okay, the many side is always owning side of this relationship. So this owning side will be linked with this reference side at customer side. Okay, so let's see the practically. So let me open my IDE, guys. So here we have one to one, right? So let me stop the server and minimize this, and here I have to define so one to many. Okay, so this, so basically this is list of items, right? So let me define so list of items here. Okay, array list, and we need setters and getters for this. So we need list of items. Okay, and so we have a customer and multiple list of items here. And so here get items. Okay, so I need one more item because one customer multiple items, right? So let me define one more item here. So let me copy this. That's it. You can start this application. Okay, we have customer and customer items and item table here. Okay, so customer, check the customer items. So the customer items table have customer ID and items ID. Okay, so this is how it will create, guys. So if you see this customer table, we have a one customer and item table will have two items here. And so if you define joining column here, so I would like to define joining column name as customer ID here. Okay, so you can start this now. Okay, so this item table will have the customer ID now. Okay, so what about, so the tables we have only customer and the item. Okay, so if you observe here, we have customer ID inside this table. So the customer will have only name here. Okay, so this is one to many. What about like many to one? So if you are talking about many to one, basically, so we will define at many side, so many to one. Okay, so this many to one relationship, so let me copy this and delete this, not required. Okay, so define cascade here, and so this is many to one. Okay, so whenever discuss about many to one, so we will define like this. So the item will have the customers, right? And so if you want to be define joining columns, we will define the joining column like this. Okay, so this is how it will going to be create. Okay, so this is many to one, guys. So if you want to deal with the many to one, so you can write it the code like this. And so I want to do it in the bidirectional way, one to many and many to one. So what we need to do is, so inside this one to many, so we have to define mapped by, basically. So we are saying that we are not maintaining any reference. Okay, so go and check in item table with the name customer. Okay, so if you go and check, so we have the customer id in this item table. Okay, so that's what we are saying here. So let me generate setters and getters for this and add here. Okay, and one more thing, so here, so we are setting the items to this customer table. So basically in items also we have to set the customers. Okay, we have item one, right? So item one dot set customer, so our customer is Tom, right? So same thing, so for item 2 as well we have to define, okay, like this, and finally we are saving this. Okay, so you can restart this application and you can check it out now. So basically here we have one is for customer, two for items. Okay, so let me check the tables. Customers and item is created, customer table doesn't have any relationship. Okay, so what about the item? So the item table will have the customer id relationship here. Okay, so which has two items. Okay, this is how the bidirectional way will work. So this two ids related to this customer table. Okay, so now I'm going to discuss about many to many mappings. Okay, so we have like customer and item entity here. So many customer can purchase many items. Okay, so that is the many to many mappings. So if you define like many to many inside this customer entity, so automatically the hibernate will create the customer underscore item table. This is joining table, so the hibernate will be create this joining table. Okay, so if you are not satisfied with this joining table, so you can customize this join table by using at the rate of joining table. Inside this customer entity you can define joining table and you can customize that your joining table. Okay, so coming to like bidirectional mappings, so for many to many bidirectional mappings, so either side may be the owning side. Okay, so either you can define the owning side item side or like customer side. You can define the joining table or customer side or item side. Okay, so both side it will work. And so let's see practically, guys. So let me stop the server. So let me change this to many. Okay, let's remove this. And so when you are working with many to many, so you have to use set instead of list here. Okay, so I'm changing hash set and let's generate setters and getters for this. Okay, and so this is not required. So first of all, like I'm going to check unidirectional, and after that I'm going to work with, okay, so many directional. Okay, so yeah, first of all, like I would like to see the unidirectional mappings, and after that I'm going to discuss about bidirectional mapping. So if you define many to many like this, so it's going to be create one joining table. Okay, so if you are not satisfied with the joining table, so you can define so your customize joining table here. So let's start this first of all. Yeah, 1 second, guys. See here we have three tables: customer and customer underscore items and item. So if you observe here, so let's start from customer. Okay, customer items. Okay, so this customer items table have created have in it automatically. So the customer ID in the item side is foreign keys here. Okay, so this is how it will reference, guys. Okay, so if you're not satisfied with this, so this joining table, so you can customize your joining table here like this. So joining table and the joining column names, so the customer id, and after that, so inverse joining columns names also you have to define here. So if you're not satisfied with this name, you can change like this. Okay, so it will create the joining column names like this. So what about like many to many bidirectional way? So from the item side, so let me change this many to many bidirectional way, and joining column is not required here, so this is set again. Okay, let's generate setters and getters for this. Okay, sorry guys. So basically, so here, so we have defined many to many, and here we have many to many, right? So I'm going to define mapped by here. So the mapped by item here. Okay, so either you can define mapped by here or at customer side, so both sides, reference side you can define, and same thing, so we can define this owning side by using this joining table. Either you can define here or you can define at item side. Okay, so I just defined this reference side mapped by item here. Okay, so let's restart this server and check it out. Okay, it's throwing error. Sorry, it's items guys, not item. Okay, so we have defined as items, right? So this one, so this name should be matched with by mapped by. Okay, it is started. See here, we have defined customer foreign key and item foreign key inside this giant table. So inside this customer entity we have defined like this, so the same way it has been constructed. Okay, so let me check the customer table. Okay, it's inserted, and so item table also it's inserted. Okay, so that's it guys. So if you like this video, so please go ahead and like and subscribe my YouTube channel. Bye.